Welcome everyone to Roll for Recipe, the series where the dice are the head chef. For those who are new here, my name is Kyle and I roll these dice for different rules and ingredients and then try to make a dish based around those rules and ingredients. So with all that said, let's get to rolling. And up first, of course, is the D10 restriction roll. 7 for restaurant roll, we get to try it out again. For a restaurant roll, we're gonna roll this D6 to see which style of restaurant we have to cook after. 3, we have to make our dish cafe style, so sandwiches, wraps, things of that nature. And now our D8 for protein. 1 for beef jerky. It is the star of this season so far. Well, beef jerky has rolled a few times now this season, for better or worse. I think with the cafe style restriction, there's still a few things we can do here. You can do soups, you can do sandwiches, wraps. So we're definitely gonna have to see what else we roll before we know what direction we're going. And D6 for carb. I was going to do a separate sheet for wraps and sandwiches and stuff, but I think everything on this list should work in a cafe setting. So I think I'm just gonna roll with it. 3 again for minute rice. Minute rice or parboiled rice, usually beef and rice go pretty well together, but I think with that cafe style restriction, it's actually just kind of locking us into soup. So now we're just kind of hoping that everything else lines up for that. Next up, 2 D12 for the seasonings. 2 and an 8. Pumpkin spice and truffle oil. Because I think we're gonna end up doing a soup, pumpkin spice is actually a pretty good roll here. It adds a nice warm spice to everything. Truffle oil, on the other hand, I'm not really sure about it. Honestly, it's just kind of an overpriced flavor booster, at least in my opinion. But I don't think it hurts anything here, so I think it should work. And now 2 D20 for the produce. There it goes. 6 and 10, peas and pear. So the peas should definitely go good with the beef and the rice. I think they're gonna work well in a soup. The pears I don't really know about, to be honest. I'm not really a pear person. I don't hate them, but I just never really eat them. But to be honest, I think their sweetness might work here and they should pair pretty well with the pumpkin spice, so I think they'll be fine. Finishing it off with the D100 Wild Magic Roll. 53 is panko breadcrumbs. Panko is a little bit awkward here with the soup direction. We could be really boring with it and just use it as a general thickener for the soup, but I think what I'm actually gonna try to do is maybe mix it with a little oil and water and see if I can make a cracker crouton-like thing with it. And if that doesn't work, I guess we'll just thicken the soup with it and be boring. And the final roll, 2d6 to see how many extra ingredients we need to add. 6 and 4, 10 extra ingredients. 10 ingredients is a really good amount for a soup. It gives us pretty much everything we need to make a basic beef soup. Here we have all our basic aromatics, the onion, the carrots, the tomato paste, and the garlic. For the herbs, we're just gonna go with some thyme and some bay leaf. I think that should work here. For liquids, it's gonna be beef broth and a cooking red wine. I know some people are gonna be angry I'm using the cooking wine instead of a actual red wine, but I honestly don't drink that much, and so if I bought a bottle of wine for $15, $20, I'd use a cup of it and it would just go to waste. I don't wanna do that. These are a nice alternative because they're like $3 and they last forever in the fridge, so I always get these. And then we have our flavor boosters. We have Worcestershire sauce and some red wine vinegar. These are just gonna help enhance the overall flavor of the dish, should work well. And with that, we've covered all the ingredients we're gonna use, so let's get to cooking. First things first here, we're gonna start with the onions and the carrots. For the onion, we're just gonna do a large dice, so we're gonna take the top off first. So we're just gonna cut through halfwise here. By the way, you can save all of your like vegetable scraps and stuff in a freezer bag. And at some point you just dump this into some water and you can make a vegetable stock with it. All right, like I said, it's gonna be a large dice, so I'm gonna cut probably like 3/4 inch chunks here. And then I really just need to cut a couple slices on this. And then this goes in the freezer bag like everything else. For the carrot, you're just gonna take the top off. For a carrot like this that's got a really thin bottom, I am gonna take the bottom off as well. And then because this one is so thin, I'm just gonna kind of cut it into discs. I don't really have another reason to do it. And then repeat on this other carrot. For the pear, first thing we're gonna do is just peel it. So like I said, I am not much of a pear eater. I really have never cut one of these. I don't know how you should cut these, so I think I'm gonna take the tip off first. And I think I'm just gonna cut down the middle and see what I'm working with. So I think if I do a slant cut, I should be able to kind of just avoid that core altogether. Well, that's probably not the most ideal way to cut this, but I guess it works. Maybe if I do this instead. Okay, that's way better because now I can just take this core out of the middle. Perfect. And now I'm gonna try to cut it about the same size as those. I think it's gonna be a little smaller, but it should be fine. Last thing I'm gonna do is chop up this beef jerky a little bit, just kind of get it into more bite-sized pieces rather than some of these giant chunks that we get. So really, I'm just looking for any big chunks like this, and then I'll just chop them up and get them into more bite-sized pieces. And now all our mise en place is done, so we're gonna get on to making the soup. Got our pot down here. We're gonna add a little bit of oil, and in goes the carrots and onions first. Well, I guess that wasn't hot enough. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt to this. With soup, stews, and honestly in general in cooking, you wanna salt at every step just to make sure that every single item has flavor to it. All right, these are starting to sweat a little bit, so we're gonna add the pears. All right, now we're going to add our garlic and our tomato paste, generous amount of this. We're also gonna add our pumpkin spice now. Nice, generous amount of this. In fact, I might even add a little more. This smells amazing right now, but I love pumpkin spice, so I love the smell of it. It is smelling like all the fall flavors right now. Now, in with about a cup of red wine. We're gonna let this reduce down. Here's the thing. I wanna get this beef as tender as possible, and we're gonna have to cook it for a while to do that. So I'm actually gonna add the beef now. Is it a mistake to add it while there's alcohol still in here? I don't know. Guess we'll find out. All right, this is more or less reduced down. You can see that it's starting to thicken a bit on that wine. So now we're going to add our beef broth. I'm gonna add it all because I know I'm gonna be adding the rice later. Also, I didn't mention this, always get low sodium broths and stocks because you wanna add your own salt to these. The regular sodium ones are usually too high in salt. All right, now we're gonna add a couple of bay leaves and a few sprigs of thyme. If you have butcher's twine or a sachet here, you can feel free to use it. I don't have either, so I'm just gonna throw it in raw. I'm also going to add a splash of our red wine vinegar now. The reason for this is, again, I'm really trying to tenderize that beef in there, and acid tends to help tenderize things, so I'm hoping this helps a little bit. And then if I need more later, I'll just add it. All right, I'm gonna cover this, and I guess I'll let it go until it's all cooked, probably about an hour. All right, so while that is cooking, we are going to try to make something with these panko. I have never tried this. I'm gonna see if I can make a panko cracker. Gonna add a pinch of salt, a little bit of oil, and then I'm gonna try adding water little by little until I see if I can form like a little cracker dough. I'm kind of onto something here. This actually is okay. I don't know, this feels like it's working. It feels like I'm getting a little bit of a dough here. So my hope here is that I can break off pieces, maybe about that big, and kind of shape them into somewhat crouton-like pieces. Yeah, I think this should work just fine. All right, that turned out way better than I thought it was going to. I'm gonna bake these in my air fryer now. I have it set to 325 for like 30 minutes. I have no idea how long this is gonna take. All right, gonna check on the soup here. See, it's coming along nicely. The croutons are about done. They have a few more minutes on them. So I think I'm gonna turn off the heat and I'm gonna add the rice and the peas. And the reason I'm turning off the heat for these is that they're basically cooked. Like, these are not gonna take long to cook, either one of these. First though, I'm going to check for flavor. That is honestly delicious. I am gonna add my Worcestershire sauce now. A touch more salt. So I'm gonna turn heat off here. I'm gonna add the rice. As you guys can see, this rice is mostly cooked already. So this is not gonna take long to cook at all. And then in with our peas. Honestly, I think I should have bought another rice pack. I didn't realize how little there was in there. There's really not that much rice. I do also want to try a piece of beef. Not perfect, but that might be about as tender as we're gonna get beef jerky. All right, croutons are done. They're a bit more dense. I tried one, they're still kind of soft inside, but it actually isn't too bad. We are going to toss these in some truffle oil. All right, that should be good enough. So yeah, I really think this could have used some more rice, but honestly, it's not too bad. And now we have the croutons here. We're gonna just put a few of these on here. I don't know, I'll put them in the circle shape, I guess. And then I'm going to finish it. I'm gonna put a little drizzle of the truffle oil kind of around the edges. That may have been a little too much truffle oil. But we will see. This is the final dish. I actually am excited for this one. I think it's gonna taste really good. The soup, pre-tasting before those final seasonings, was good. The croutons turned out nicely. They're a little soft inside, but we'll see. I think this one's gonna be a winner. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video and wanna see more. I think I added too much truffle oil at the end. I definitely just smell truffle oil right now. A little bit of everything on here. Bon appetit. Okay, first thing that hits me, there is definitely a lot of flavor in here between the pumpkin spice and the truffle oil. It is all mixing pretty well as well, so I'm happy about that. I've used pumpkin spice and similar blends in soups and stews on this series before. I really like it. It adds a nice warm depth to everything. Truffle oil maybe added a little too much there at the end, but it's not super strong, so I'm not complaining too much. And admittedly, it does add a nice flavor to the croutons. They're a little bit soft now, but the crispy croutons with that truffle oil, they actually were pretty good. Vegetables all work well in here, and they're cooked well, so that's nice. Rice, as I mentioned, I would have liked a little bit more of it. And then beef jerky, I think this is about as tender as we're gonna get beef jerky ever, and it still is a little bit tough. It's still a bit chewy. So yeah, I definitely would prefer like a chuck roast in here or something like that. But flavor-wise, everything's there. It is a pretty solid soup. So for a score, I'm somewhere between a 7 and a 9. 7s are usually just below restaurant quality, and 8s are usually restaurant quality, but not super amazing. Problem is with beef jerky is it's really weird in that type of scaling because you would never get beef jerky at a restaurant, but everything else about this soup is definitely very restaurant quality. It's something I definitely could see being served in a cafe. What's making me teeter on the edge as well is definitely the price between truffle oil and beef jerky. This was a very expensive soup to make. So yeah, this is a rough one, but I think the flavor alone is just gonna carry it slightly over that mark of the 8. So with all that said, I'm gonna give this one an 8.1 out of 10, and I'm gonna call it beef scrap soup. Honestly, I can't think of anything else to name this because it's a pretty generic soup outside of the beef jerky, which is basically just beef scraps. I will say, had this been made with chuck roast and actual croutons, I think this easily could have made it into the 9s. It is a very, very good dish. It just needs those better ingredients to push it over the mark. As always, everybody, thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.